Hello, everyone. Welcome back to what's coming out in the world of indie. Of course, this week, as always, and I think this is probably the only series that gets uploaded to the channel now. Just out of pure unfortunate reality that I just don't have time to make these amazing edits or whatever. Not that I make amazing edits to begin with, but there is a lot of stuff coming. So if you're waiting on extra content, bar this fantastic series, fret not, there is stuff on the way. But I am, of course, always joined by the wonderful Mike Zoke this week from Indie Games Tracker to kind of break down some of the cool indie games that are coming to you, and an exclusive where I get to, where I say I get to, I could if I ever wanted to, but I am actually actively contributing this week because I have one game I want to mention. So yeah,
Proud of
here's me
you.
pulling my weight for 1 week. But
One versus six.
without further ado, I suppose. We have a short list of games this week. We have 6 games coming to you, and then my extra one for 7. And there wasn't a lot coming out this week, but the stuff that is coming out. There's one or two. I think maybe ones that people would have been heavily anticipating for a while now, and that people will be happy to jump into. And if you notice, we are recording on a different day, but fret not. I mean, our original list for Friday, due to reasons out of our control, was games were starting on the 19th anyways, so you're missing out on absolutely nothing that we were going to mention. So we're starting off with a banger this week though, Mike. I mean, I've never experienced a series of these games, but I know a load of people have a huge love for them. I wonder if you're one of them. But Return to Monkey Island comes out on the 19th of September.
Yes, so the Monkey Island series should be familiar to just about anybody in games, even if you haven't played them yourself. Monkey Island is like basically the grandfather, so to speak, of the point and click adventure type games. It wasn't the first, but it's kind of really the first big one that popularized the genre. When people think of old ones, Monkey Island is typically the one that comes to mind. So we have Return to Monkey Island coming out, which is being created by the original creator of Monkey Island with the backing of Devolver Digital, one of the largest, most consistently quality indie publishers out there. It does feature a new art style, which a lot of people have not been very fond of. I really like the art style. It's very reminiscent of the old style for me, but kind of has a modern take on it. I feel like a lot of people got disappointed because they were literally just expecting the old games, but new. And with what 20 or no decade, a decade. The last one came out in like 2010, I think, or 2011. So there's like a decade gap between it. It's not going to be the exact same. While the original creator is there, a lot of the team is different. There's a different publisher behind it. We're in a different industry today than we were a decade ago. But yeah, Monkey Island, one of the best point and click adventure series of all time. Very hard. I haven't ever gotten through one of them without using a guide. That is something that I will admit handedly, but I also use guides like no problem. If I get stuck on something for like 5 minutes, I'm just like Googling how I can get past it. I'm not one to sit here and bash my head against the wall. But yeah, so if you're a fan of like the Telltale games, stuff like that, you like the point and click adventure, kind of visual novelty-esque, but you're clicking instead of just choosing dialogue options. Return to Monkey Island is for you. It looks gorgeous. The story sounds awesome. And we're finally, after a decade, getting to go back to Monkey Island, which is really exciting.
Yeah. I don't know why when I first heard of Monkey Island, because I listened to a podcast and they mentioned Return to Monkey Island and everyone was really happy and excited about it. And I'd always heard of Monkey Island, but in my head, I always imagined it being like every character was a monkey and they were pirates. And that's just not the case at all.
No.
But it looks really, really cool. I love the nod to getting literally horse armor that does nothing in your inventory to
Yep.
Skyrim. That's fantastic.
Skyrim.
And this is also, I think, really interesting as well, because it's the second year in a row we've had like a sequel to a game that was like 20 years in the making. Because we
Yeah.
had Psychonauts last year, and now we've returned to Monkey
Yep.
Island. So it's really nice to see this sort of stuff, and I might jump into it at some stage. I don't think it's going to be my day one pickup, but like it's kind of funny. I've played like Full Throttle and Day of the Tentacle, but I've never played a
Yeah, if
Monkey
you've
Island
played
game.
any of Double Fine's point and click adventure games, then like Return to Monkey Island is very similar. It's very comedic, very well written,
Hmm.
very hard. But it kind of has that similar style to it.
Yeah, 100%. Um, Obviously that's one of the big ones for this week. We have another second big one that's coming on later on the show, but between those, on the 21st September, we have the Outbound Ghost, which I'm kind of interested to hear what this is about, because I watched the trailer and I'm still kind of like, excuse me? So throw me
Yeah,
into it.
so the Outbound Ghost is part of the rapidly growing paper-like genre, and those are games that take the art style of Paper Mario and combine it with either the gameplay of Paper Mario or a completely different genre. They've been popping up everywhere. You have Bug Fables, you have Restless Soul. They're coming everywhere. All the time you're getting paper likes nowadays. It seems to be one of the new trends that's popping up, which I'm fine with. Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door is one of my favorite games of all time. The Outbound Ghost is taking both aspects of Paper Mario. So it's taking the art style and the turn based RPG style combat. But you are basically a ghost, and you are trying to find your place in the afterlife. You died, you don't really know why. And as you meet other ghosts in the afterlife, you're not only working through your own issues with being dead, you're helping your friends come to terms with the fact that they're dead. So
Hmm.
this isn't a game like Restless Soul, which is about escaping hell. It's not. That's what a lot of games like this are about. They're about trying to free yourself from death. This is a game about coming to terms with being dead,
Hmm.
which is something that I really like about it. I really like taking a positive outlook towards death. It's something that a lot of people, most people, are afraid of is dying. They don't know for sure what happens after. You don't know what it's going to be like. You're going to leave things untied. You know, you're not going to finish everything in life that you wanted to. So we have a nice, wholesome Paper Mario esque RPG that is about coming to terms with it and
Mhm.
does it with a beautiful art style, a beautiful story, great writing, still plenty of humor mixed throughout. But if you are a fan of the first two Paper Mario games, specifically the one on the N64 and then the Thousand Year Door, the Outbound Ghost was made for you.
Hmm.
um, Check it out. It is one of my most anticipated games to still come out this month.
Yeah, amazing. That sounds really, really good. That's definitely. I I love this because I'm so self conscious of it now. But like, yeah, that's definitely on my list. I'm definitely going to check that out. It's- but no, this sort of stuff is really down my alley. These sort of like existential looks at like really complex topics being tackled by a game in more of a
Mhm.
sort of fun sort of format with a sort of a more deeper meaning to them. I love that sort of
Yeah,
stuff. And I mean, the art style. I mean, you know, you love me. you know, I say you love me. You know me. I love cute stuff. That was a Freudian slip there.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, the Outbound Ghost looks absolutely fantastic. That's coming out on the 21st of September. God, I nearly said October. It's just completely like time is what is time anymore? How many of these have we done? I don't know. What week is it? Who
I don't
cares?
know. Time is
Uh,
relative.
um, but speaking of stuff that happened in different weeks, I mean, we didn't have a Japanese game last week. I know, shock with Mike Zook on the show. But this week, the alarm has returned. There is a Japanese game, Solstice. And you know what? I think, you know, as Japanese names for games go, you know what? This is pretty in the middle. This is a pretty bang average name, but you
I
know,
feel like most people they probably wouldn't even know that it was based off of the
mm,
name. It also just kind of sounds like an indie game that is trying to copy Dark Souls. They're just trying
yes.
to fit the word souls into their name however they can.
Well, we need more of those, obviously, because there's not enough indie Souls likes. Um, but obviously, this, well, it kind is it. It's kind of like that, I suppose, a little bit.
It
Eh,
is. It's an action RPG. So in that vein, it's similar to Dark Souls, but it doesn't have like the
difficulty.
brutal combat
Yeah.
aspect of it. For me, it reminds me a lot more of your standard action RPG type game. So it's more like a near automata
Mm,
type of game. You're doing quick combos. You have some abilities that you can pull off every once in a while. Big bosses still. I mean, that is very reminiscent of the Dark Souls, where it has the towering bosses that are 50 times larger than you are that you have to somehow manage to take down. But Solstice seems like a game that people who would like to like Dark Souls but cannot like Dark Souls because Dark Souls makes them sad
mm,
would like Solstice. because I mean it has a very gorgeous art style. I really enjoy the art style in it. It's like an anime art style that doesn't look anime is like how I would kind of describe it. Like the animation quality, it feels like something from an actual show, but you can tell that it's been kind of video gamified. I don't know
Mhm.
how to describe it, but I really like it. It's very nice. But you're basically trying to restore order in a kingdom that has been split apart by these ferocious bosses, basically, that you're going to fight throughout the game. Fast-paced combat, third-person action. Okay, the game that it reminds me of the most is the recent Final Fantasy game, so Final
Mm.
Fantasy 15 and Final Fantasy 7 remake. That is the kind of combat that this game has.
Mhm.
So you have like your main buttons that you use to pull off your attacks, but then on like your D-pad you have buttons that you can press to pull off like a spell or something,
Yeah.
to kind of combine and create combos. So that's kind of like what Solstice is. I think it is a game that a lot of people would be interested into because um, in a world with the indie industry, there's not very many standout 3D games that really grip you. Indies that I'm happy about. I really love 2D games. Most indie games that you look at are going to be some form of 2D, whether it be 2D characters on a 3D environment or just fully 2D and bit styled. But this game's fully 3D, and it's very quality. I feel like if they just threw this trailer up without saying who the studio is by, people would be like, "This looks kind of like something that one of Square Enix's smaller
Mm.
development studios would pump out." So it looks very high quality. I'm very excited for it.
Very cool. Thankfully, I got the reference to Final Fantasy Combat because I played that recently. So, that is my only Japanese game alongside Yakuza that I've played. So, thank you for making that accessible to me and me alone. But
You need to
moving
pump
on,
those
so
numbers
that
up.
Mike's disappointment isn't, held against me for much longer. Uh, I think this is my favorite game of this week. The next one coming out on the 22nd. Serial Cleaner. I love the name. So much great. And I think the premise is pretty much you kill someone and then have to clean up before you're taken out.
No,
Oh, okay.
no. You aren't doing the killing. You are part of a crime scene cleanup crew for the mob. So
Okay.
they're doing bits, and then you're having to like sneak in while the cops are investigating and remove evidence from the scene without getting caught.
Even better.
Yeah, and I believe it's co-op. You can like participate in that with your friends, where you're both going through like the crime scene, trying to gather the evidence and disperse of it before it can be found to protect the mob that backs you. But yeah, it's a top-down isometric type game. It looks very chaotic, very fun. I love the premise of like just being a cleaner for the mob. You see those kind of people in movies like John Wick and stuff where like a murder happens at John Wick's house and he calls the people and they're like a rug cleaning company or something and they come out, wrap the dead body in the rug and clean the house and then they're gone. It's like a front. So you're basically living that aspect of movies like that, but in video game form, and you can do it with your friends. So I feel like it has kind of like that overcooked kind of quality to it where it is a team-based activity where if you aren't on the same page as the people you're working with, things can go very bad very fast.
Mhm.
But part of the appeal of it, I believe, as well. It's not supposed to just be an easy casual party game type experience like Jackbox. This is more of a fun work together but still kind of competing with each other even though you're technically on the same team type of game.
Mhm.
And it just looks fantastic.
Yeah, very cool. I'm actually even more into it now that I know you don't have to kill people in it because it's going to sound really lame, but I actually find that the really enjoyable part of this will be the cleaning up. So I can't wait. That's I'm not going to say it. Don't say it, Odin. Don't say it. Oh, that's definitely going to be on my list. Um, I need to I don't know, read a thesaurus or something before next week and figure out different ways of saying that. Um, but with that being said, I mean, we talked about Monkey Island being one of the big games this week, and I alluded to a second. I think the second one that everyone has kind of heard a little bit about, and this is a huge cult following as well, the Slime Rancher series. Slime Rancher 2 comes out on the 22nd of September. As someone who didn't play the first one, give me a little run through, Mike.
Okay, so big concept, right? There are slimes. You have
Mhm.
a ranch, and you ranch the slimes.
You've lost
It's
me. I'm
amazing.
sorry, I didn't get that.
So in Slime Rancher 2, you basically have, or in the first Slime Rancher, you have a large world that you can explore that have different kinds of slimes roaming about it. Different slimes can produce different resources or reproduce at different rates and all kinds of things. And you're basically capturing them, taking them back to your ranch, breeding them, and using them to farm or do any of the multitude of things that you need to do. And Slime Rancher 2 is the sequel of that. You're going to be doing a lot of the same things as the first game. It looks like they're expanding the type of slimes that you can find, the different structures that you're able to build. The exploration seems to be a lot more in depth, a lot larger, because it used to just kind of be like you walked out in the world after so many feet, you would find like a checkpoint sign, and then you could either keep going or turn back um, and go back to your ranch. And then there is more to the taking care of the slimes than simply gathering their resources. At night, evil slimes are going to attack your ranch and try to break out your other slimes and eat them and turn them into evil slimes alongside them. So you also have to basically defend and upgrade your base to protect your slimes that you have stolen from the wild. Um,
This is
it's a very
high
fun
concept
game.
stuff.
I feel like it's very different than games like Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing, but there's a very large crossover
Hmm.
between fans of Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing and fans of Slime Rancher. It is very much that kind of fun simulation type casual game that appeals to basically anybody out there.
Hmm.
Gorgeous art style. The soundtrack is even better than the first game, which is a huge plus for me because you're gonna basically always be there's almost always gonna be music playing. So having good music is kind of a really large factor of a game like that. You don't
Hmm.
want to get burnt out on the music that's playing all of the time. But yeah, Slime Rancher 2, if you love the casual simulation farming games but want a weird twist of taking your handy dandy gun and sucking up slimes, like you work for Nickelodeon, and then taking them to the ranch and farming carrots with them, this is the game for you.
Sounds great. I don't know if it'll be one of the games I'll check out right away. But I
Well,
was going to
guess
say it's
what?
it.
It's
Yeah,
day one on Game Pass.
day one on Game Pass. It sounds really cozy and comfortable, but the idea of like evil slimes coming could be quite stressful. So I might not delve into that right
It
away
is.
before I have the courage to face those evil
It is
slimes.
stressful.
But yeah, Slime Rancher 2. I mean, I don't think there's a soul on the internet that hasn't heard that that's coming out. But if you didn't know it was coming out this week, it is. So if you're interested in it, make sure to give it a look. Final game of the week, or at least final game from Mike's list. We have Beacon Pines, which also comes out on the 22nd of September.
And it's also day one on Game Pass.
Very cool.
But it is also a point and click type game, narrative based adventure game. But it is a storybook adventure game. You are basically living a storybook. There are branching paths. If you decide, you don't like the route that you're going on, you can turn the pages back on the book to a different page of the story and pick up from another point to try and take another one of the branching paths. So the art style is very similar to kind of an picture book as well, a storybook, something that you would read to your kids.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know, it seems very interesting. It's just kind of like a story about a community of little animals in the town of Beacon Pines. And there's some mysteries afoot in the forest. So your decisions can impact what way the story takes, what way the characters go, and it fortunately is branching paths. So it's not just necessarily a one and done experience. You can turn back and go after the other endings. But yeah, I would say personally, Return to Monkey Island is probably the go-to point and click game out of this list,
Hmm.
even if you haven't necessarily played the other Monkey Island games. But Beacon Pines looks like a fantastic game for fans of the genre as well. The writing has been fantastic so far. The art style is very unique. I love the storybook aspect of it, and like getting to pick chapters and finding trees and like family type trees and like going through the different segments of the story to see how it all pieces together.
Well, very interesting. It sounds like there's a lot of replayability there as well, which should be good as well for a lot of people who are interested in this sort of game. Before we move on to the next section, I have a special mention for this week. Everyone and anyone that knows me knows my absolute love. I was even mentioning it, I think, at the beginning of the episode or just before we started recording. my love for the game Spookware by Beeswax Games and published by Dread XP. Um, episode 2 dropped randomly there, or at least maybe it was scheduled and I just didn't see it. But to me, it dropped randomly in the last few days. So episode 2 is out now at no extra cost, 2 new chapters to add it to it, and it's currently on sale for like €5 or €6. So, I mean, the game itself is so good. I absolutely love it. Think uh, funny humor mixed in with every sort of movie trope you can imagine in an RPG setting, controlling skeletons and playing WarioWare style minigames. I mean, it's as good as all
It's
that
great. I
sounds and
haven't
more.
finished it. I did play a little bit of it, so that'll
Yeah.
give me the boost to go back and finish it up.
Yeah, I mean, I have unfortunately with my new laptop for some reason my saves didn't carry over. I say unfortunately because I get to play it all again now, and I'm actually fine with doing that. Um, my favorite thing is like finding the quotes because like the developers didn't program in other external characters to move. So my favorite thing is if you have like a conversation with someone long after something is ended and they're not meant to be there, they'll say something like, "I wish the developers gave me legs" or something. So I love that sort of like aware sort of humor. It's right down my alley. So I'm going to preach it until the entire game is out, and then I will continue to preach it until my dying breaths. That everyone and anyone should play it. Um, that came out a couple of days ago, so that's out now at the time of recording this. We're on to, I suppose, the inaugural segment of the show that has kind of become a weekly tradition is where I try and guess your 3 favorite games of the week. Um, Thankfully, it's been narrowed down the amount of games on the list, so there's like a 50% chance I'll get all of these right. I think that's how maths work. Probably not. Um, but I'm going to take a wild stab. You know, I don't need to worry about percentages if I get them all right because there's a 100% chance then that I've gotten them all right. Yeah, that's how it works. I'm going to guess that Return to Monkey Island is on the list this week.
It is.
Okay, that's one down. That's all. I'm happy with 33% to be honest. I'm going to say, given you're a big sort of Japanese JRPG fan, I think Solstice is also on the list.
It is.
It is. Oh. Now, the final one is, have you gone for the generic answer of Slime Rancher 2, or is there another one there? I don't think it's Beacon Pines, because you mentioned that Return to Monkey Island would be better. Serial Cleaners I'm going to go with. Oh, no. Wait, no. Before you say anything, I think it's Outbound Ghost. Outbound Ghost.
It is Outbound
Yes.
Ghost.
Oh, thank God. I remembered at the end that you mentioned a load about Outbound Ghost, and I was like, yeah, that sounds really cool. Mike definitely wants to play this if they're mentioning so
You
much
honestly
about
just
it.
need to watch how long I talk about a game.
Yeah.
The
I've
longer
got
I
an
talk
alarm
about it,
beside
the
me.
more
I
likely it is to
stopwatch
be
you when you start
out.
speaking, and I'm like, biggest number, he's wanting to play that. But yeah, any reason why those 3 particularly stand out to you?
So for Monkey Island, it's Devolver Digital. All of their games immediately excite me. It doesn't matter what it's about. It's like they have a game where you just kick stuff. Don't care. Awesome, amazing, love them. And I love Monkey Island, so I'm very excited to see how Monkey Island and Devolver Digital fit together because they
Mhm.
are an interesting couple. The Outbound Ghost, Paper Mario, The Thousand Year Door, one of my favorite games of all time. Bug Fables, one of my favorite games of all time. I am in love with this little subgenre of indie games, and the Outbound Ghost looks to be another phenomenal entry. And then Solstice. I love Japan. I like the Japanese games. And I especially like action. I like the action ones. And I've been playing a lot of turn-based games right now, so I could use Solstice right now
Mhm.
as a break because the rest of my year is like all turn-based games. I've got the Dio Field Chronicle, I've got Marvel's Midnight Suns, Pokemon. It's not gonna stop. I need Solstice to cleanse my palate before I continue. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, sounds amazing. I will also note as well, at the time of recording this, Realms Deep is also currently available. So there's a ton of really cool indie games over on Steam you can check out right now. So I would recommend. I'll actually leave a link in the description to that page for Realms Deep because there's a huge bunch of sales on some great games as well. That we've all, some of them we've talked about before, some of them I just really enjoy and that Mike really enjoys. So go and check that out in the description below because we haven't had the chance to get through literally everything that's on the list this week. But yeah, with that being said, of course, as always, as I mentioned every week, please go and follow the wonderful Mike Zook over on Twitter and at Indie Games Tracker. They are responsible wholeheartedly for the majority of this show. I just come on here and ask Mike random questions about stuff I know nothing about, and
Yeah, but
somehow,
you also do all the technical stuff with it.
yeah, that's the easy bit though. I don't have to do the research. Ugh, disgusting. Um, but alongside that, of course, if you enjoy the shows we run on the channel, including this one and everything else, a great way to support us is over on Patreon. It's down the link in the description as well. As little as €1 a month would make such a big difference to all of us over here. But of course, there's no obligation. Simply you just watching the video and enjoying it and letting us know what you think of everything we've talked about down below is as good as anything. Along that, you can also follow us over on our socials, which are all linked down below. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and for some reason LinkedIn. If you're one of those weird business savvy people, you can follow us over there. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching this week, and we will see you all next week.